Okay, we are back with another Between the Pages book chat, and today our guest is YA fantasy author, YA fantasy romance author, Diana Rose, and I'm going to turn it over to her and let her introduce herself. And before I do that, I'm pretty much not on the ball today for some reason. Um, we're discussing her book series, The Power of Love. So now I'm going to turn it over to her and let her introduce herself. So take it away.
Hello, everyone. I am Diana Rose. I write YA fantasy romance. Um, my book series, the Power of Love series, is a uh, practically a story about a family, a royal family, and how they how each of the family members find true love in their partners um, throughout the book series. It's a fun, magic filled story, um, and I hope that that you enjoy it when you read it.
Okay, yeah. So I know you have book one is been published, and you have a prequel as well. So tell us a little bit about those books.
Um, actually, book one was supposed to be a the only book in that story, and then once I finished it, I thought, I'm done. But then when I finished it, I was like, oh no, I want to tell a story about the kids. I want to tell a story about this. I want to tell a story about that. So I started writing. Book six, which is the prequel to the whole series, was not in the plan at all. When I was editing book one, I I fell upon a sentence that my main character Amy tells her mother, and I was interested in how that came about, and I was like, well, maybe I should tell a story about Amy's mother and how she fell in love with her husband. And so I just started writing it, and I was like, okay, so this is how it came about. This is how the background of you know the whole Moon Kingdom and you know it all started. So I was like, okay, and that book really surprised me because I it came about on one sentence, and my readers came about it and they loved it, and it just kept on surprising me as I was writing it, and then when I published it. Um, so sometimes plans do work out.
Yeah, they do. Okay, so tell us a little bit about the world the book is set in. So,
And well, it's set between two kingdoms, the Moon Kingdom and the Earth Kingdom. The Moon Kingdom is essentially the whole setting for the series. Um, it's it's how should I explain it? Uh, it's a royal uh, family, sort of like um, I was actually compared to Romeo and Juliet with that book with Forbidden Love, um, and it is sort of like a Romeo and Juliet because it's mm, it's set in a time and a place where kingdoms and royalty and magic and all that exist, and yet all the um, social boundaries and all the social norms of that time also exist. So you're seeing a family um, that wants to arrange marriages, that wants to prevent their children from marrying commoners. You're seeing um, those kinds of social norms in that time, but you're also seeing a magical quality to it with um, with those characters having magical powers and the ability to change the weather and sort of like stop time, which is Darian's power uh, in Forbidden Love, and and Visions, which is Amy's power, um, and you're seeing different qualities that come together in a sort of um, fantasy world, but you're getting to learn about that time of um of those social norms. It's not a history. It's not a historical fantasy. It's set in that world of that background, but it's totally fantasy.
Oh, sounds interesting. A medieval based magical royalty.
Hmm. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the characters. What are they like?
Oh, I could talk about them all day.
Well, feel free.
Okay. So Amy and Darian from book one and their family uh, is based on uh, my grandparents. So I essentially took the story that I know of my grandparents getting together and getting married and how uh, they fell in love uh, after World War II. My grandfather fought in World War II, and then when he came back, he met my grandma, and they fell in love and got married. So I essentially took that story and I at 12 years old I started writing a fantasy novel because I wanted my readers to I wanted people uh, to know that true love really does exist and that it's possible and that even like it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to. It's just love. You find it on every corner. You find it in people that you never thought you would find it. You know, and my grandparents, what really amazed me in their story was that they stayed together for 63 years until my grandmother passed away. And and they never fought. They never raised their voice at each other, and it was just a calm kind of like this place that you could come to and relax and have peace and joy in the fact that you're loved. You, you know, and
Yeah.
and I wanted to show that. I wanted people to realize that that is possible.
Well, that's a very sweet inspiration for the series. So it's nice that you sort of immortalized your grandparents' love in your books.
I did.
So, so what is your favorite scene that you wrote in the series?
Um, between the two books,
Yeah.
um, in Forbidden Love, I wrote the uh, the scene where Garen proposes. I love the way he does it, and uh, also I love the fact that um, when Darren comes to save Amy, and it's kind of funny because she doesn't recognize him at first, but then when she does, it's like this instant, like, oh, you came to save me, like, I knew you would, but like I wanted that reunion. I wanted that hope that you know.
Yeah.
So those two, and then in Arranged Love, which is the prequel, I think um, my favorite my favorite scene would have to be the kiss, the first kiss um, that Alona has with her husband. That that really, like, oh my god, like everybody's waiting for that, and then it happens at the end of the book. you know?
Yeah, you kept your readers waiting, eh?
Yeah, and it actually does happen, but it kind of, you have to wait for it.
Okay, so what was the most difficult scene that you wrote?
I always have trouble with writing fight scenes, and that's just my my sort of complication that I can't write fight scenes. But you have to write something. There has to be a conflict. So it kind of like, it's a double edged sword. So I kind of like, I have to, and then I can't because I'm not. I don't know how.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's always like that for me with every book that I sit down and write. Like with Forbidden Love, I had a scene where Deering had to fight the bad guy, and and how to do it, how to come about that bad guy. Like, what does he want? Like, I what can I fight with, like magic or like swords or like whatever, like, what can I create to be the conflict? Like, um, there was this, and how long to make the conflict, like how long to make the fight scene, it, you know, that kind of, I wanted to get to the good part. Like, I wanted to get past that to get to the good part, to the other half of the book. But I knew that I had to write the fight scene in order for that to happen.
Yeah, there's always one of those in the books, aren't isn't there?
Right, yeah.
Okay. So, do you have a favorite character?
Um, Are you really asking me that?
No, the answer, you can say no. That is an acceptable answer. If you,
No, I do. Actually, I do, and I have two. I have Amy and Darren. Both are my favorite. So I can't like. I like both of them for different reasons, and I can't choose between the two.
so you have a tie for favorite character then.
Hmm.
Okay, so you obviously write fantasy and romance. Are there any other genres you want to try in the future?
I wanted to try contemporary, like I want to do a mix. I want to do. I thought of writing a contemporary, but kind of like mix it with fantasy. Like part of the book would be fantasy and part of the book would be contemporary. Like mix the two together.
That sounds cool.
But for that to happen, like I don't want to mix uh, my fantasy romance that I write and the thing that I want to try together in one name. So I'm thinking of changing pen names, like adding a pen name to um, another like genre, like to make it separate.
Yeah, yeah. I've noticed a lot of romance authors do that. So
Yeah, I just feel like keep the two separate.
yeah,
But I haven't gone around to writing the book yet. I have a little thing like an idea in my head for the contemporary fantasy romance type story, but I haven't gotten around to writing it. I'm a slow writer.
yeah,
And people know that I'm a very slow writer. So if
yeah.
I write something, and I'm also a perfectionist. So if people actually get a book out of me, it has to be perfect for for me to actually put something out. I have to be completely satisfied with what I'm doing.
Yeah, I know the feeling. So, okay, I think we'll wrap it up here then, and I'll let you tell people where they can find your books.
I'm everywhere. My social media is on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, though I don't post as much on Instagram. But you can find me. My website is my website has all my social media stuff and my other interviews that I've done. It's author Diana Rose dot wixsite.com/online. I hope I said that right. Um, it has everything. It has my books. Uh, straight to Amazon. It has my social media. You can go. I have a group on Facebook where you can find me. Magical discussions with Diana Rose. I also have so much social media that if I start talking about social media, I'm like lost because I have so many websites. I'm on I'm on BookBub. I'm on oh boy. I'm on Goodreads now. Um, I'm a Goodreads author now. I did that a while ago. Um, I'm everywhere.
Well,
So
yeah,
just
I've
in
linked to the series.
Diana Rose romance, stories _ Rose on Twitter. Um, on Facebook, it's Diana Rose Romance. Also on Instagram, same thing. Um, I'm everywhere, so you can find me anywhere.
Okay, so I've linked to the series below in the description, and I believe to your Amazon page as well. So if you want to check
Yeah,
out the books, you can. So thank you for being here. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
thank you for having me.
And we'll be back next weekend with another guest author. And also next weekend, you can find me over on CornCon for 2 panels, the Great Fantasy Bake Off, and location is characters. So be sure to check them out over on YouTube as well. So bye for now.